day, good people, and welcome back to vocabulary practice. As usual, I've got about 20 words for us to look at this week, so let's just jump right in and see what we've got. The first one I've got is agriculture, and you probably know the word culture means something like people living together or human culture, but culture can also mean something about growing. Agriculture is the word we use for farming. When I think of agriculture, I think of people growing corn or rice or something. And it's sometimes abbreviated ag in the United States, certainly. The next one I've got is catastrophe. And a catastrophe is a big problem, something like a disaster, bigger than just an accident. I guess an earthquake would be a big catastrophe. The next word I've got is elevate. You probably know an elevator, which takes us up and down, but elevate specifically means to lift something. We also see often the word elevation, which means how high a mountain is. For example, that mountain is 10,000 meters in elevation. Possible? Maybe. The next one I have is environment. We can speak of the entire world as the environment, but we also speak of local environment. For example, I might say that a comfortable learning environment is important for students. You might notice that inside that word environment is that VIR root, which has something to do with living or life. Environment really means where we live. The next word I would like to look at is emerge. Emerge means come out. I might say that a butterfly emerges from a chrysalis. You might also compare emerge with converge, go together, or diverge, go apart. But do remember, emerge, come out. The next word I have is evident. Evident means something I can see. And you may see that root in there, vide, which is something like video or vision, something about seeing. Often, in a crime, police or detectives are looking for evidence, which may be a fingerprint or something else. The next word I've got is excavate. Excavate is a really nice word. Ex means out, cave means hole. To excavate means simply to dig. We might say that the archaeologists were excavating at the pyramids for over 100 years. Please notice the root cave, which is like a cave or a cavern, or even a hole in your teeth, which is called a cavity. All right, the next word I have is one of my favorites, actually. You might know the famous character, famous film character, E.T. What is E.T.? Extraterrestrial. Now, in extra many times means more of something, but in fact, extra can also mean outside. Terrestrial means of the earth. There is an old word that means earth that you should know, and that word is terra. There is a word for the moon, and that word is luna. And there is a word for the sun, and that word is sol. Very useful. All right, the next word I have is exterminate. Exterminate, put simply, means killing. If you have insects or rats in your house, you would call the police. No. You would call the exterminator. And that's another famous movie. You might know the Terminator. To terminate means to finish something. Please notice that in that word is the word term which means some length of time. So to terminate means to finish. To exterminate means really to kill. The next word I have is relatively well known, fantasy. Fantasy is simply something that is imagined and not real. Generally, it's something positive. You might want to consider that part of fantasy is that word fan or fanatic, which means somebody who loves something. You may be a K-pop fan. Fantasy, fantastic means great. Fanatic means somebody who thinks something is great, and the short form of fanatic is fan. All right, the next word I have is ferment. And ferment is a little bit difficult to explain. To ferment means to help something grow, and it's especially in liquid. There are a number of popular drinks and food products that are fermented. The number one fermented product probably is alcohol. And fermentation is the process of changing sugar into alcohol. Other fermented foods might include soy sauce, and I can't remember, but do remember ferment. The next one is something to do with farms and food, fertilize. Now, if something is fertile, it means it creates life, or it's easy for life to grow. To actively fertilize is to help something to grow. And what do we fertilize with? I guess we use animal waste, and we also use other things that we simply call fertilizers, something that we put into the soil to help plants grow. All right, the next word I have is it's a kind of dialect version of ferment, and this word is foment. Foment really means to start something, and it especially means, we would say in idiomatic English, to stir things up. I often see foment with revolution. They fomented a revolution. That's a useful word for you. All right, the next one I have is frost. Everybody knows freeze and freezing. It's super cold. It is below 0 degrees C. Frost is the kind of ice that is on the outside of things. For example, in the winter sometimes, if it's super cold, I could get ice on the windows, or I could get that white frost. You should also know that the sweet stuff on the outside of a cake can be called frosting, and sometimes, similarly, icing. Happy birthday. All right, the next word I have is fungus. We can say fungus. For one, we can say fungi. These words mean the same thing. Mushrooms. That kind of life is fungus or fungal. Sometimes there's a fungus that grows on people's feet and makes them stinky, and they will get anti-fungal medication, also called athlete's foot. All right, the next word I have is germinate. Germinate is when something begins growing. Sometimes we hear the word germ and it means like bacteria, and we imagine something dirty. But germ can also mean just the very beginning of something. So for example, if we plant a seed and it starts to grow, that is germinated. That's a very useful word to know. All right, the next word I have, I think everybody knows. It's G. Wait, that's the abbreviation. What is G-force? I can drop my pencil, my marker. G stands for gravity. Gravity usually means the attraction of the earth, the thing that holds people down to the earth. But gravity can also mean something serious. We speak of a situation of extreme gravity. So sometimes it means important. Okay. The other word I have is multicultural. Again, culture means people living together, and that word multi means simply many. Okay, the next one I have is pandemic. Recently, we have all lived through a pandemic. Pan means everywhere or everything. If it's a disease that's not everywhere, but many people get it, that is an epidemic. Epidemic means many people. Pandemic means everybody. All right, and my last word for today is polyester. You probably know this word. Polyester is a plastic material that is often used for clothing. It's used to make threads and yarns. You should know that poly means many. Poly means exactly many layers. So that material is a layered material. All right, very good. Those are all of the words I have for you this week. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.